Today, Goldman Sachs becoming the latest Wall Street firm to mandate shots, saying anyone entering its U.S. offices needs to be fully vaccinated. Delta Airlines will ask unvaccinated workers to pay more for health care. Despite tough sanctions, the U.S. is reportedly allowing Huawei to buy microchips for vehicles. The approval could be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And the UN says the Taliban makes most of its money from drug trafficking. We talked to an expert who believes they'll ramp up production now that they're in control. That and much more, coming up at NTD Business. Good evening. Great to have you with us. I'm Paul Graney. More companies are pressing ahead with COVID-19 vaccine mandates after the FDA granted full approval for Pfizer's shot. Investment bank Goldman Sachs is requiring anyone entering its U.S. offices to be fully vaccinated, even clients. It's according to a memo sent to its workers. Staff will also receive weekly tests even if they're fully vaccinated. Delta Airlines says it'll start charging unvaccinated employees $200 extra a month for health care. Here's Delta's CEO on CNN.
Starting November the 1st, we're going to implement an insurance surcharge such that if you're not vaccinated at that point, we're going to add a $200 monthly premium surcharge onto your health insurance costs, because this is not just costing lives, this is costing us financial resources as well.
Delta says unvaccinated staff would also face additional restrictions. That includes indoor masking effective immediately and weekly testing starting September 12th. Up till now, all COVID vaccines were dispensed under emergency use authorization, so some workers were reluctant to get it. And some employers were also wary of mandating it due to the legal risk of requiring vaccines that weren't fully approved. But experts say now employers have more legal cover to require the vaccines, and President Biden is calling on more private companies to mandate them. And a closely watched metric for business investment in the U.S. was flat last month after rising 1% in June and 16% in the past year. The non-defense capital goods, excluding aircraft metric, tracks new orders of durable goods by U.S. companies. The National Association of Manufacturers says the reading is positive news, considering the supply chain challenges, labor shortage, and soaring prices manufacturers are facing. And it says the trend remains positive. But the chief economist at the Tressis hedge fund isn't as optimistic. He's pointing to other data that shows the economy is slowing as stimulus wears off, and says the durable goods report tend to reflect economic changes more slowly than other measures like consumer spending, which fell recently. But alas, Wall Street gained ground again today, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq reaching new record highs. The Dow rose 39 points, or 0.1%. S&P 500 gained 10 points, or 0.2%. And the Nasdaq added 22 points today, less than 0.2%. An eyewear company, Warby Parker, is filing for a direct listing on the New York Stock Exchange. The paperwork shows its revenue increased by 53% in the first half of the year. The New York-based firm, known for its fashionable eyewear starting at $95, was recently valued at $3 billion, according to the Wall Street Journal. The co-founders of Warby, who were classmates, got the idea for the company in 2008 after co-chief executive David Gilboa found the cost of replacing eyeglasses lost in a Southeast Asia backpacking trip to be too high. They later founded the company in 2010, and it now has an active consumer base of over 2 million consumers. And social media app TikTok, which has been linked to the Chinese Communist Party, is partnering with e-commerce giant Shopify. Seems Shopify is going to help power TikTok's e-commerce business in the US, UK, and Canada. Here's NTD's Evelyn Lee with more.
TikTok users can soon buy products directly through the short videos on the app. That could pose a threat for Facebook. Until now, shopping was only possible through ads. In a deal with Shopify, TikTok will soon let businesses add a shopping tab on their profiles. This will create something like a mini storefront that links directly to checkout at their online store. The video app hopes to replicate the success of Douyin, its twin app for the Chinese market. TikTok is working with merchants in markets like the US, UK, and Canada to find ways they can sell products to millions of users directly. ByteDance is the company that owns both Douyin and TikTok and is based in Beijing. It came under intense scrutiny during the Trump administration, which banned TikTok and other Chinese apps because of security concerns. Chinese security laws require companies to cooperate with intelligence agencies when asked to, and critics say the app could be used as a spying tool for the Chinese Communist Party. On top of that, they say that users' content could be censored when deemed politically sensitive. Evelyn Lee, NTD News.
President Biden and his cabinet are meeting with big tech and finance leaders at the White House. He wants the private sector to do more on cybersecurity.
We've launched a 100-day initiative to improve cybersecurity across the electric sector. That initiative has already resulted in more than 150 utilities that serve 90 million Americans being deployed.
The CEOs from Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft were there. Energy utility firm Southern Company and financial giant JP Chase were also invited. Biden touched on ransomware attacks and said he pressed Russian President Vladimir Putin to hold people responsible when he met him earlier this year. Top cybersecurity officials from the Biden administration also attended. The meeting comes as Congress weighs legislation concerning data breach notification laws and cybersecurity insurance industry regulation. They're historically viewed as two of the most important policy areas within the field. And despite tough restrictions in place since the Trump administration, the U.S. is reportedly allowing Huawei to buy some low-end microchips for cars specifically. Huawei seems to be shifting focus to items that are less prone to U.S. trade bans. NTD's Leo Lee reports.
U.S. officials gave a green light to companies looking to sell microchips to the blacklisted Chinese tech giant Huawei, helping to fuel the firm's vehicle parts business. The approval are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. That's all according to two people familiar with the matter. Huawei is the world's biggest maker of telecom gear, but it's been stumbling under the Trump-era bans against it buying U.S. products. Reuters reports, in recent months, the U.S. has given approval to suppliers to sell Huawei chips that go in car parts, including video screens and sensors. Auto components generally aren't considered sophisticated, and Huawei has pivoted toward items that are less likely to fall under U.S. bans. The Biden administration has continued to ban Huawei from buying chips that would go in 5G-capable devices like smartphones. The U.S. has also pushed allies to exclude Huawei from their 5G networks, citing concerns Beijing could use Huawei gear for spying. When asked about the licenses, a Commerce Department spokesperson said the government continues to apply licensing policies to restrict Huawei's access to commodities, software, or technology for activities that could harm U.S. national security and foreign policy interests. A Huawei spokeswoman declined to comment. Leo Lee, NTD News.
And a new report from Duke University says data brokers in the United States are risking national security by selling information on American military personnel. Data brokers are companies that collect and sell data for a variety of different uses, but critics say the industry is ripe for abuse. Here's NTD's Don Ma with more.
At least 3 large companies are selling information on active duty U.S. military personnel. That's according to a Duke University report released on Monday. The study surveyed major data brokers in the United States, including LexisNexis, Axiom, and Nielsen. These companies typically buy and sell online information in bulk, used to promote legitimate businesses like credit scoring, advertising, and research. But critics say the data brokerage industry has become virtually unregulated. The Duke report cautioned that the data advertised by these brokers, spanning everything from financial transactions histories and internet browsing patterns to travel interests and support for political causes and organizations, could be used by foreign entities for a range of national security damaging activities. As detailed in the report, foreign powers may benefit by building profiles on senior U.S. military personnel involved in key decisions relevant to a foreign power, or even building profiles on their family members and close acquaintances, seeing as some data brokers openly and explicitly advertise their ability to map network connections between individuals. The Duke report follows recent revelations about how governments use bulk data for intelligence and espionage. In December, Foreign Policy magazine published findings on the Chinese regime's use of stolen U.S. datasets to expose CIA operatives.
And Western troops at Kabul airport are rushing to evacuate people from Afghanistan before the August 31st deadline, while Afghans near the airport say they face miserable conditions as thousands wait to flee the country. One Afghan says food and water was selling at outrageous prices.
At Kabul airport, one bottle of water is selling for $40 and a plate of rice for $100. Not for Afghan currency, but dollars. That's out of the reach for common people.
The Taliban makes most of its money from criminal activities like extortion, kidnapping for ransom, and so on. That's according to a UN report. But it says drug trafficking is their primary source of money, opium in particular. NTD's Eileen Richards has the details.
The United Nations says the Taliban relies on drug trafficking to make money. Opium is a guaranteed source of funding for them.
The Taliban never say anything to us, and they're happy with us because they gather money from the farmers for the opium.
The UN estimates Afghanistan is responsible for 80% of the world's opium and heroin. One UN estimate suggests the Taliban made $460 million from poppy crop yields in 2020.
There's different Taliban factions, and the different factions engage in the drug trade in different ways. In most areas, the Taliban will collect tax off of poppy that is grown. They will also tax the drug labs that are operating.
Gretchen Peters is the author of Seeds of Terror: How Drugs, Thugs, and Crime Are Reshaping the Afghan War. She says there is evidence the Taliban are exporting drugs further and further outside Afghanistan, whereas 10 years ago, all trading took place inside Afghanistan and Pakistan. And it's likely to get worse.
The Taliban now has institutions of the state that it can use to support its drug trafficking activities, whether it's road runways, airplanes, customs records, banks. This is going to make it a lot easier for the Taliban to move drugs.
The UN estimates the country produced 5,400 to 7,200 tons of opium in 2020, with all regions seeing an increase except for one. Experts believe production will increase more now, especially because they have limited financing alternatives. Eileen Richards, NTD News.
And one of Britain's top accounting firms has been hit with a major fine for an audit that wasn't up to scratch. Britain's accounting watchdog said today it fined Ernst & Young $4.8 million. It's for not challenging financial statements in its audit of transport group Stagecoach in 2017. The Financial Reporting Council also sanctioned a former senior partner who oversaw the audit. Both fines were reduced, though, because the E&Y admitted their failings. EY says it fell short of the standards it sets for itself, but it says it's improving its audit quality. It says there were no problems raised with its most recent audit of Stagecoach. And a new study says the sun may be the cause of global warming, not greenhouse gases. It goes further to say that the United Nations' recent climate report contains bias. NTD's Patrick Hayden speaks to one of the report's authors.
The sun and not CO2 or methane may be the main cause of global warming temperatures in recent decades. That's the conclusion of a new study which contradicts the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change's stance on the matter. One of the authors of the report says the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, seems to be selective in citing scientific papers.
When our work agrees with their narrative, we get cited.
Connolly says his work is not always taken into consideration by the IPCC, yet some authors within the IPCC have validated his work by citing him independently.
When it disagrees with the narrative, they either don't cite us or they cite us in a way that makes it sound like they agree, but we agree with them.
The new study comes right off the heels of the IPCC's new report that claims that humans have caused unprecedented and irreversible change to climate. But Connolly's team of nearly 24 scientists around the world say that the sun may be the main factor in global warming. It also said that other studies did not adequately consider the role of solar energy in explaining increased temperatures. Connolly says his report was started by identifying which areas have scientific disagreement and investigating those areas. And that's different from the UN's approach.
The UN IPCC's approach is to try and form a scientific consensus. They're taking a different approach. They want to identify a common narrative that they can then say, this is what everybody agrees.
Economies around the world are investing trillions of dollars on green technology, driven by the UN's scientific consensus that climate change is predominantly human affected. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
Still to come this evening. A rare piece of Apple memorabilia sells for nearly $800,000. What is it? Why is it so precious? And business is booming for fake space dirt. What is it and who's making it? That and more after this short break.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Welcome back. Nearly $800,000. That's how much someone shelled out for this rare Apple II computer manual signed by Steve Jobs and one of Apple's angel investors in 1980. RR Auction says it was originally owned by someone named Julian Brewer. His dad negotiated exclusive distribution rights for Apple in the UK in 1979. A note inside the manual reads, "Julian, your generation is the first to grow up with computers. Go change the world." Some other Apple-related memorabilia was also sold during the auction, including a letter with Jobs' signature that sold for nearly $480,000. And Alphabet's Waymo is now testing its self-driving cars in San Francisco. The goal is to make it available to anyone in the city, but hopes it'll take less time than launching in its only other market, Phoenix. That took 3 years. NTD's Colin Fredrickson has the story.
Self-driving car startup Waymo began test rides in San Francisco Tuesday.
Within our San Francisco testing program, with the announcement of Waymo One Trusted Tester. This is a research-focused initiative where select members of the public will be able to take Waymo for their everyday mobility needs and give us feedback along the way.
Formerly known as Google's self-driving car project, Waymo hopes to eventually open the robo-taxis to anyone in the city. The test program in San Francisco follows a successful deployment of self-driving minivans in some Phoenix suburbs last year. After 3 years of testing there,
all of those learnings, all of that, all of the feedback that we've received from our riders in that market and about autonomous vehicles generally, are all things that we're going to take into account and into our roadmap even in San Francisco. And so we'll say that was the first big step. Getting the first deployment of a fully autonomous service, was definitely a big milestone for us to hit, and we're very proud of it. And then we obviously hope to bring it rapidly to other markets in the future.
anyone can sign up for Waymo's ride-hailing app in San Francisco. But for now, the company is hand-selecting who it picks up. Colin Fredrickson, NTD News.
And scientists have stumbled across a booming business, turning rocks into synthetic space dirt. Let's take a look.
For scientists and engineers at this University of Central Florida lab, space dirt is big business. The UCF Exolith Lab has become a factory for experimental extraterrestrial soil simulants. In other words, they make fake space dirt. Earth-based elements are combined with research-based formulas to create soil that mimics that of the moon, Mars, and even asteroids. Customers include NASA, commercial space companies, and STEM schools that use the simulants to test equipment and research methods such as growing food on other planets. It's a dirty job, but business is booming. Case in point, in 2020, the lab produced 5 tons of material. Halfway through this year, they've already cranked out and shipped 25 tons of the stuff.
And the future is looking bright for short-term rental owners and investors. Although the Delta variant has virus cases spiking across the country, a record number of people are continuing to travel. According to Guest, the rental management platform, reservations are up 122% this year. Nightly rates are also up more than 30%. According to the report, Labor Day rental prices are also higher than July 4th. For Thanksgiving, the average rate per night has also increased, and it's a jaw-dropping $436. Why the price hike? Consumers are booking larger properties with amenities and focusing on resort areas, which are more expensive. New York City is full of exciting attractions that can keep you busy while visiting, and now there's one more. NTD's Arian Pastor visited the newest tourist site.
That's right, a huge Ferris wheel in the middle of Times Square. This thing is going to allow you to see the crossroads of the world from a whole new perspective. I mean, it stands at 110 feet tall, so the view from up there must be pretty cool. But we can't show you yet, as it's going to open to the public on Wednesday at noon. The attraction, which is around 10 stories high, is meant to send the message that New York City is back from the pandemic. Its main goal is to attract more tourists, and those we spoke with like the idea.
I mean, sure, I'd go on it.
Yeah, I think seeing Times Square from above, I don't know, seeing all the lights at night, that'd be pretty cool.
I will come here again at nighttime.
The ride is 12 minutes long, and if you want to ride it, you have to book a ticket on timesquarewheel.nyse. Time slots are available every 30 minutes, and a ride costs $20, which might be a bit much for some.
But I'm like, I'd pay $10. Maybe. I was going to say 10 is my max. So.
That's like $20.
Oh, hell no. That's a bit pricey.
Organizers say it's a sensory overload by billions of pixels as you soar through a canyon of spectacular billboards. Each gondola can hold up to 6 people, and there is no weight or height limit. The Times Square wheel isn't going to stay here forever. It's scheduled to be open for the next 3 weeks, every day from noon to midnight. After that, you might not get another chance to catch this view. Arian Pastar, NTD News, New York.
And over in Europe, as Italy opens up, restaurants, hotels, and tour guides are welcoming back foreign visitors, even if it isn't a full return to normal. NTD's Andrew Thomas reports.
Tourists are trickling back to Rome, giving hope to a struggling tourism industry that has been devastated by a year and a half of the pandemic.
There are now starting to be more customers from United States because they have to be vaccinated, they have to have the green pass. We are missing the British tourists because they have to stay in the quarantine, but we see a lot of people from Europe.
Massimo De Filippis leads walking tours in English. He's doing a 2-hour walking tour for 7 tourists at the Colosseum and Roman Forum.
Then I can tell you that as of the month of March, slowly and month after month, things started going slightly better. Now, I cannot complain of the situation the way that it is now, but still it's like half of the work that I would have back in 2019.
Italy has the highest number of UNESCO World Heritage Sites at 58. Prior to the pandemic, nearly 100 million visitors flocked to the country every year. The tourism industry normally makes up roughly 13% of the country's GDP and employs over 1 million people. Then came the pandemic.
There were no more conferences or events that could aggregate people. Ceremonies were also completely missing concerning the Italian market, not to mention 90% of world tourism. Therefore, our revenues have suffered losses of 75% on an annual basis.
But there are signs that tourism is picking up again, and Rome certainly hasn't lost its popularity. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
That's the latest business updates for today, but you can still catch NTD Evening News with Stephanie and Cox. That's at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. For NTD Business, that's all for today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to catch all of our programs on TV. NTD Evening News is on every weekday at 6:30 p.m. Find your local NTD channel at ntd.com/TV.